What if I told you that one river in Canada could silently hold the United States hostage, putting billions of dollars, energy security, and millions of American jobs at risk? Imagine a single decision upstream sending shockwaves through industries, cities, and farms across America, and there's nothing Washington can do to stop it. Today, on the Maple Doctrine, we are re-exposing a story most people don't even know exists. A $2.3 billion river crisis that could quietly shift power in North America forever. Before we go any further, do yourself a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the Maple Doctrine. If you want the clearest, most eye-opening breakdowns of Canada's global moves, this is where you need to be. Turn on notifications too, because the decisions made in Ottawa today could shape your economy tomorrow. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter. This isn't just water flowing from Canada into the United States. This is money, power, and leverage all wrapped into one river, and it could change everything you thought you knew about US-Canada relations. This river feeds major hydropower plants, irrigates massive agricultural zones, and supports industrial hubs that supply goods across the country. Any disruption, even a small one, could trigger losses measured in billions of dollars. And right now, Canada has full control. Think about it. For decades, Americans have assumed the flow of resources from Canada is stable, predictable, almost guaranteed. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if Canada has been quietly positioning itself to use this river as a bargaining chip, a tool to strengthen its own strategic position, and the US hasn't even realized the leverage it's losing? That's exactly what's happening, and it's happening right under our noses. The number here is staggering, $2.3 billion. That's not a guess. That's the combined value of hydropower, agricultural output, and industries that directly depend on this river. And when you start thinking about the consequences of disrupted flow, the picture becomes terrifying. Farms could dry up, energy bills could spike, industrial plants could lose critical power, and entire local economies could feel the shock. It's a ticking financial time bomb that most Americans don't even know exists. You might be wondering, why wouldn't Washington do something about it? The answer lies in the complex web of treaties, geography, and sovereignty laws. Canada legally controls its water resources. Most agreements prevent outright sabotage, but they don't guarantee perfect outcomes downstream. That gives Canada an almost invisible but enormously powerful lever over its southern neighbor. Imagine having the ability to influence billions of dollars worth of American infrastructure without firing a single shot or passing a single law. That's the kind of power this river gives Canada. And the timing couldn't be more critical. Every choice made upstream, from water releases to hydropower regulation, affects millions downstream. Seasonal irrigation, electricity demand, and industrial operations all hang in the balance. Canada doesn't need to be aggressive. It simply needs to manage its own resources wisely, and suddenly, the US feels the impact. That's why some analysts are already calling it Canada holding America hostage. It's not an exaggeration. The leverage is real and the stakes are sky high. Here's what makes it even more intriguing. Most Americans never hear about this river or the quiet power it gives Canada. Water might seem like an endless resource, but in this case, it's carefully controlled, strategically managed, and incredibly valuable. This isn't just about energy or irrigation, it's about influence, foresight, and silent power. Canada's leaders understand this perfectly, and every decision can subtly shape negotiations, trade discussions, and cross-border relations without ever making headlines. From a strategic standpoint, this river is a masterclass in leverage. It is a reminder that power isn't always about armies or treaties. It is about resources, timing, and control. And when you combine billions of dollars, national dependence, and silent influence, you get a situation that could redefine how two of the world's closest neighbors interact. By the end of this series, you'll see why this $2.3 billion river isn't just a financial story. It, as a geopolitical thriller playing out quietly, with Canada in control and the US in a delicate position. And in the next part, we'll uncover exactly how Canada could use this river to its advantage, what it means for American power, and why experts believe this crisis could escalate in ways nobody is prepared for. Stay tuned, because the most shocking part of this story is still ahead. And you wouldn't want to miss how this quietly powerful river could change the rules of North American strategy forever. While most Americans are focused on domestic politics, trade debates, or energy prices, Canada has quietly been playing a long game. The $2.3 billion river isn't just water. It's leverage, power, and influence all rolled into one. Imagine a resource so vital that the flow of it could reshape industries, affect energy bills, and even alter political negotiations. That's the reality Washington is facing, and right now Ottawa holds the upper hand. Here's why this matters more than ever. Hydropower generated from this river supports millions of homes and businesses. It's not a minor local project. It powers industrial zones, urban centers, and even high-tech manufacturing plants that keep the American economy humming. Now, imagine for a moment that Canada adjusts water flow, tightens regulations, or even just enforces existing environmental rules more strictly. The U.S. suddenly faces higher electricity costs, slower production lines, and farmers struggling to irrigate their crops, billions of dollars at risk, all controlled silently by Canada. And it gets more complicated. This isn't just about water supply, it's also about timing and political strategy. Seasonal irrigation and energy demand peaks mean that small adjustments upstream can have massive consequences downstream. It's a chess game played on a continental scale, and Canada is several moves ahead. Every decision, every regulation, every policy change is carefully considered because the implications stretch far beyond borders. Many people ask, isn't there a treaty or agreement to prevent this? Yes, but treaties rarely cover every possible scenario. And they certainly don't give Washington the kind of control needed to prevent strategic leverage. International agreements are designed to reduce conflict, not eliminate power imbalances entirely. This gives Canada the freedom to manage its resources in ways that protect its national interest, while the U.S. remains highly dependent and, in some cases, vulnerable. The $2.3 billion figure is more than just an abstract number. It represents actual measurable risk, lost energy, disrupted industrial production, and agricultural setbacks. And while the United States has massive infrastructure and global influence, resources like this river remind us that dependence creates vulnerability. One resource, carefully controlled, can silently change the balance of power. Canada knows this, and experts say Ottawa is playing it smart. Now let's consider the bigger picture. This isn't an isolated scenario, it's a pattern. Canada has always prioritized strategic resource management. From oil to minerals to water, Canada understands the value of holding leverage that can influence negotiations without firing a shot. And the beauty of this $2.3 billion river is that it S invisible leverage. No one notices it until something goes wrong, until the flow changes, until the bills go up, and then suddenly it's front page news. From Washington's perspective, this is a wake-up call. Even the most powerful nations are only as strong as their dependencies allow. And right now, the U.S. is highly dependent on a resource controlled entirely by a neighbor with no obligation to act in its interest. The suspense lies in knowing that at any moment, subtle shifts in policy or environmental management could cause ripple effects worth billions, affecting energy, agriculture, and manufacturing across multiple states. Here's where the story gets even more fascinating. Canada isn't being aggressive. It doesn't need to. The power comes from control, timing, and strategic foresight. By simply managing its resources intelligently, Canada can influence negotiations, protect its own economy, and position itself as a strong, independent player in North America. The U.S. sees the results, higher costs, potential shortages, political pressure, but rarely sees the cause as a deliberate strategic choice by Canada. That's what makes this river crisis so intriguing. The most powerful moves are invisible, calculated, and completely legal. And while all of this unfolds, the stakes continue to rise. Climate change, population growth, and increasing energy demands make water resources even more critical. That $2.3 billion risk isn't static. It grows every year, every season, and with every policy change. Analysts warn that if nothing changes, America could face escalating costs and vulnerability, while Canada quietly strengthens its position. It's a slow-motion power shift, one that could reshape North American energy and economic strategy for decades. Some Americans may think this is just a minor resource dispute, but it's far more than that. This river is a symbol of how natural resources can be leveraged strategically, how nations with foresight can quietly gain power, and how reliance on a single neighbor, even a friendly one, can create hidden vulnerabilities. Canada's careful management of this river highlights the reality that power often comes from control over critical resources, not military might or flashy headlines. In the next part, we'll reveal the most shocking implications of this $2.3 billion river crisis. We'll explore exactly how Canada could use this leverage in future negotiations, what it could mean for U.S. energy security, and why some experts believe the situation is only going to grow more urgent. Stay tuned, because when the final pieces of this story fall into place, you'll see that the river isn't just water. It is a strategic masterstroke that could silently redefine North American power. By now, it should be clear that this $2.3 billion river isn't just a Canadian waterway. It gives a strategic lever, a quiet force shaping the balance of power between Canada and the United States. What makes it truly remarkable is how invisible this influence is. Most Americans never notice it until a cost spike hits their energy bills, crops start to fail, or industries face shortages, and by then, the leverage has already done its work. This is power without guns, without armies, power that comes from foresight, planning, and a single critical resource. Canada isn't acting aggressively. It doesn't need to. Simply by managing this river wisely, Ottawa ensures its national interests are protected, while the United States is forced to account for an unseen variable in its planning. That's what makes this story so fascinating. It's subtle, it's legal, and it's extremely effective. A country can assert influence in ways that are almost invisible, yet the consequences are enormous. The United States, for all its might, must respect this quiet form of leverage, or risk serious economic fallout. And the consequences are real. Hydropower generation could fluctuate. Electricity bills could rise, and industrial production could slow. Farmers could face shortages of irrigation water, affecting food supply chains. It's not speculation, it's a tangible risk, backed by billions of dollars in economic dependence. Experts say that if these pressures increase, the U.S. could find itself forced into concessions in energy pricing, trade deals, or even cross-border negotiations, without Canada having to make a single overt move. That's the brilliance of this strategic advantage. From a global perspective, this story highlights a key lesson. Resources are power, and managing them intelligently can redefine the dynamics between nations. While the U.S. focuses on politics, global competition, and trade battles around the world, Canada quietly ensures that it holds a critical card right next door. It's a reminder that influence doesn't always come from armies, diplomacy, or headlines. It often comes from controlling something essential, something the other side can't afford to lose. For viewers of the Maple Doctrine, this is exactly why paying attention to Canadian strategy matters. The river is more than a waterway. It's a metaphor for foresight, planning, and leverage. Canada's careful stewardship of its natural resources demonstrates how a country can quietly secure its position in the global landscape. And while the U.S. enjoys the benefits of trade and shared resources, it must always remain aware that dependency comes with risks. What happens next is the most interesting part. If Canada continues to manage this river strategically, its influence could grow. It could negotiate trade advantages, secure better terms for cross-border agreements, or simply ensure that its domestic priorities remain protected. And all of this could happen while most Americans remain unaware of the silent power at play. That's the kind of influence that changes the rules quietly, over time, without dramatic headlines but with profound consequences. It's also a wake-up call. Countries that rely heavily on one neighbor or one resource risk being caught off guard. The United States, despite its strength, must recognize that Canada's careful management of this $2.3 billion river gives Ottawa leverage that could shape North American politics and economics for years to come. The lesson here is clear. Power is often silent, subtle, and strategic, and those who recognize it early can benefit the most. So, what do you think? Should the United States take steps to reduce its dependence on Canadian resources, or is this just part of normal cross-border cooperation? Could Canada use this leverage in ways we haven't even imagined yet? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because discussions like these help everyone understand the bigger picture of North American strategy and economics. And if you found this breakdown insightful, share this video with friends and colleagues who care about geopolitics, North American strategy, or global economic leverage. Help them understand how something as simple as a river can quietly shape the balance of power. Finally, if you want to stay ahead of the curve on Canada's strategic moves, global influence, and hidden power plays, make sure to subscribe to the Maple Doctrine and turn on notifications. From natural resources to economic strategy, the Maple Doctrine will bring you the stories others done mit T das Drum, highlight and show you how Canada quietly wields influence that could impact the entire continent. This $2.3 billion river is more than water. It's leverage, power, and a silent force shaping the future. And as the U.S. continues to navigate its dependence, Canada remains quietly in control, showing that sometimes the most powerful moves are the ones that no one sees coming.